Hi guys, I'm Amy. In case you're new to my channel, I'm an online reseller selling mainly on eBay, and I also sell a little bit on Poshmark and Mercari as well. Now, in case you're not familiar with what an online reseller does, basically I buy items at places like thrift stores, garage sales, things like that, and then I resell them online to make a profit. So today we're going to go over some sales for basically the second week of July. These will encompass any sales between July 8th and July 14th. We won't go over every single sale, but mainly in these videos I like to go over any sales that were at least $20 and up. We do sell some other items that sell for less than that, but I don't see a need as much to go over those and make a very long video that would encompass those as well. I feel like it's better to show the items that are selling for at least around 20 or higher. So we've got some really good sales in here for you today. Hopefully this will help you guys think about what kind of items to look for when you're out shopping. Or if you just like this kind of video and you don't resell and you just like this for entertainment purposes, that's cool too. Stick around and we'll get into that. Alright guys, so we're going to get into these sales from July 8th through July 14th. First, I just wanted to mention the fact that I live in Ohio. Again, in case you're new to my channel or you just haven't seen any of my videos where I've mentioned that before. Today is really weird outside because it's very smoky. I don't know if you guys live in any of the areas that have been experiencing this from the Canadian wildfires, but we've dealt with this a few times already this summer. And apparently it's very possible that we could keep dealing with it here and there throughout the summer. The smoke from the Canadian wildfires just keeps blowing apparently downwind towards us. And yeah, we've dealt with it a few times and it's very kind of strange. I've never really experienced anything like this before in my life. But yeah, it's pretty smoky today. There were a couple days, I think like maybe 3 weeks ago or so here, that was even worse than this. It was really bad. It was almost like hard to see. It was so thick. Today's not quite like that, but you can definitely see the smoke in the air, and it's just very strange. So I just wondered if any of you live in any of the other areas that have been experiencing the smoke from the Canadian wildfires. I find it interesting that smoke can travel so far and affect areas, you know, in multiple states here in the United States, all the way from Canada. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, you know, they'll be able to finally get these fires out at some point. That's a really scary situation, especially up in Canada. So yeah, just wanted to touch on that real quick. But let's go ahead and get into some of these sales that we made between the 8th and the 14th. So the first one I want to talk about was a sale on eBay. This was a Panasonic VCR. VCRs, even though a lot of people wouldn't think that this is something that would sell well, it actually really does. Believe it or not, there are still a lot of people that have VHS tapes, whether it's actual movies, whether it's old home movies, whether, you know, for whatever reason, they may still have a lot of VHS tapes. There's a lot of people that just like old technology, and they like it better than today's technology, for whatever reasons that may be. So people will buy VCRs. I've talked about VCR DVD combos before in the past as well. Those also usually do really well, but so do regular VCRs sometimes. So this one was a Panasonic, and I got this for $5 at a garage sale this summer, and she said that it worked, which you can't always necessarily take their word for. I've had plenty of times where I've bought a VCR or a VCR DVD combo, took it home, tested it, and it did not work. Fortunately, I took this one home, tested it, and it worked great. So that was exciting, and I was able to sell this one on eBay for $49.97. All right, next I want to talk about a Poshmark sale. This was a sale on Poshmark for a pair of Crocs. These we found at the bins or the Goodwill outlet for about $1.69. I've talked to you guys about the Goodwill outlet before, but if you're new and don't know anything about the Goodwill outlet, basically you pay for everything by the pound. So instead of items being individually priced, you go in there, there's these big bins you dig through to find all kinds of stuff, and then you fill up your cart, go up to the register, check out. They basically weigh how many pounds of merchandise you have and charge you by the pound. My local outlet charges $1.59 per pound. So depending on how much, you know, each item weighs, I kind of figure it out so that I know how much I spent on each item, because I like to keep an accurate count of how much I spent on each item, even if it was at the bins. So I break it down, I weigh the item and see, you know, how much then that item would have cost me. So it did. It cost about $1.69 for us for these Crocs, and they sold on Poshmark for $25. So again, you know, I feel like the bins is a great place to source items, especially shoes. That's one of the main things we source at the bins. I just think they typically end up being you know, a decent price at the bins compared to what a lot of regular thrift stores will individually price shoes at. And again, I've talked to you guys about Crocs before. Believe it or not, Crocs are actually a really good brand that a lot of people look for, so always be on the lookout for Crocs. They actually do really well. They don't always sell for a ton, usually around that $20 to $25 mark, sometimes a little less than 20, but they sell pretty consistently. So don't think that Crocs won't sell, because they actually do pretty well. All right, next we have another eBay sale. These were a pair of UGG sandals. Again, got these at the bins. They only cost about 95 cents because they're so lightweight. And these ended up selling for $21. Next, we're gonna go through another Poshmark sale. This one was a Travis Matthew golf polo. This one we got for about $5.57 at Goodwill, and it ended up selling for $22 on Poshmark. So not the biggest profit there, but we still made probably about $10, $12, probably about right for the profit. Travis Matthew is a good golf brand. It doesn't always sell for a ton, but it usually sells pretty consistently. Obviously you don't want to spend a ton on it because it's probably not going to sell for, you know, a lot, but it is a good golfing brand to be on the lookout for. Lots of people like Travis Matthew, so keep your eye out for that. All right, next is another eBay sale. This one was a North Face full zip women's fleece. I got this for $1 at a garage sale. I don't know that was this summer. I think maybe that was last summer. But either way, I mean, finding a North Face for only $1 is pretty fantastic. And this ended up selling for $21. North Face, I'm sure most of you have heard of. It's another really good brand and does really well. Some of them will sell for quite a bit of money depending on what it is. They're typical basic fleeces like this. It's probably usually going to be closer to like the $20 mark. Probably not going to be a lot more than that, but a lot of times they are hard to find cheaper, because I feel like a lot of times the thrift stores and even people at garage sales will price these up because everyone, you know, knows that North Face is a good brand, and they're really expensive to buy brand new. So like I said, finding that for $1 at a garage sale was a great deal. And even though it only sold for $21, I mean, that's still not quite a $20 profit after fees and everything, of course, but it was probably still at least a $17, $18 profit perhaps. So that's not too bad. All right, next we'll look at another eBay sale. This was for a pair of Levi's camo cargo shorts. So I found these for about $2.73 at Goodwill, and they ended up selling for $22.47. Most people probably know Levi's more for their jeans, which, yes, their jeans do well. Also, again, don't usually sell for a ton, but a lot of people will always love Levi's. These Levi's, like I said, they were a short, like a cargo short, like a guy's cargo shorts. Now, typically, the guys' Levi's cargo shorts do pretty well. And these were a camouflage pattern as well, which also does well, because people really like that camouflage pattern. So be on the lookout for Levi's, especially like the cargo shorts, and especially if you can find them in camouflage. If you can find a lot of different type of items in camouflage, like I said, that pattern does very well. Lots of people like the camo pattern, so always look it up, obviously, see how it's doing, see how it's selling based on brand. But camouflage is a good thing to be on the lookout for. Alright, next we're gonna go through another Poshmark sale. This one was for a pair of UGG men's boots. These I bought for about $6.35 at the bins. They were pretty heavy, so they were more. That's one of the only things that you'll usually pay more for at the bins, is something that's heavy, like a pair of boots. However, I mean, these were still worth getting, even though they ended up costing $6, because they sold on Poshmark for $42. So really, to pay $6 for them at the bins is fine, when I can still turn around and flip them for $42. That's still a really good profit, even though my cost was a little bit higher. Alright, next is another eBay sale. This was for a Yeti Rambler mug. I got this for $5 at a garage sale this summer, and it sold for $24. Most people probably know about Yeti. It's a really good high-end brand, and you know, again, a lot of people look for Yeti. A lot of people buy these Yeti mugs, Yeti coolers, different things by that brand. This is probably the first time I ever found anything by Yeti, especially that was affordable enough to buy. Most people really price up Yeti items, even at garage sales. So it's hard to find them, and when you do, they're usually overpriced, at least for what I'm trying to do with them. They're probably a good deal for someone that's just looking to buy it for themselves, but for resale purposes, it's usually overpriced. I actually found 2 Yeti mugs from this same garage sale, and the other one is currently still listed. It was $5 also, so hopefully that will sell sometime soon as well. Alright, next is another Poshmark sale. This one was for a pair of women's Sorel boots. These I paid about $8.40 for at Goodwill. Again, typically I don't pay that much for items because I'm cheap. I don't like to pay a lot per item on anything, but I knew that these would be worth paying the $8 for, because I know that Sorel is a really good brand and their boots sell for really decent money, even as pre-owned in the resale industry. So these ended up selling on Poshmark for $45. So again, 8 into 45, that's still a very good profit, and that's worth, to me, spending the $8 on paying up a little bit. Alright, next is another eBay sale. This was a book set. This was the Twilight Saga book set. I found this for only $1 at a library sale, and this ended up selling for $34.97. Now, I don't sell a lot of books because I don't know a lot about books. There's a lot of booksellers out there that do really, really well, but they know what they're doing. They either know a lot about books, know what kind of books are, you know, valuable, or they have book scanners. You might have seen people do this before. If you've ever been out thrifting or at like a library book sale or something like that, they'll have this little scanner and they'll go through and scan the barcode on all the books, and it tells them like what each book, I guess, is worth. I'm not really sure how it all works. I've never tried to get into that. I feel like scanning books would be such a long, tedious task. I don't know that that's something that I could get into, but I mean, people make lots of money on books. So there's a few books that I do know that sell well, and it's usually sets of books. That's what I know. Now, for example, this set. This was a hardcover Twilight Saga book set. I know that that does well. I've sold it probably... This is probably like my 3rd or 4th time selling this book set. So I know when I see this that it does well. And it typically doesn't take that long to sell either. I just got this at that library sale. It was probably just a couple months ago. So yeah, that was a pretty good find, and I was glad. I'm glad every time I can find that set and other books that I actually do know, because they're very few and far between. Let me know if you guys know anything about books and how well you do with books. Comment below. Alright, next we'll go to another Poshmark sale. I think this is the last Poshmark sale that we'll go over. So this was another pair of UGG men's boots. I got these for about $4.24 at the bins, and these ones ended up selling for $40. So these ones weren't quite as heavy as the other pair, so they were a little bit better. Again, $4 into $40, that's a great profit. Alright, so let's get back to the rest of our eBay sales. So this next one was a vintage Ghostbusters Proton Pack. So this was like a 1980s toy. I'm pretty sure that my brother and myself even had these as kids ourselves. I definitely remember having these. So yeah, I mean, you guys, if you can ever find like vintage toys, especially stuff like this, like Ghostbusters, and obviously there's lots of other vintage toys, but nostalgia is big. People want things that make them remember their childhood, so whether that's 80s, 90s, all that kind of stuff is really big. People will pay good money for those type of items. So nostalgic toys will do well. And I know that the Ghostbusters is one of these specific types that does do well. So I was shocked when I found this for only $1 at a garage sale. Actually, they had 2 of them, and I bought them each for $1. And they also had a couple other vintage 80s toys that were super cheap as well, which again is super surprising, because usually when I find this stuff, which isn't even that often, I usually don't come across this stuff at garage sales, but usually if I ever do, it's overpriced, because a lot of people, I think a lot of times, are trying to get those eBay sale prices at like garage sales, which to me I think is funny, because I don't think that people understand that the reason these items sell for as much as they do on eBay, they have to take into account that we're reaching a worldwide audience, you know. We're not just selling something at our garage sale that, you know, our neighborhood's going to come to, or the town's going to come to, or what have you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like people don't understand that. You can't get eBay prices at a garage sale. You're not going to reach as many people, and typically people don't carry that kind of cash at a garage sale, and they're not looking to spend that kind of money at a garage sale. If people are going to garage sale, they're looking for a deal. Yes, they're hunting for, you know, treasures, but they're looking for a deal. People go on eBay when they're ready to spend money, and they're ready to you know, find the items that other people have already found for them and pay up for them. So again, you know, found this for $1 at a garage sale, which was awesome, and it sold for $40. So obviously that's an amazing profit, and I was very happy to get that. Like I said, I still have another one that's listed for sale currently. So hopefully that one will sell for about the same amount, because that would be great. All right, next we have this Guitar Hero guitar. This one was for the PlayStation 2. I actually found this at the bins for $2.96, which was really surprising as well. I don't find a lot of video game stuff, although I think I told you in my last video, I have been doing really good with that this year. I've shockingly found lots of video game stuff this year. I'm not sure why I'm getting that lucky, but I'm glad and hope it continues. But yeah, I found this at the bins for $2.96. I was surprised because I feel like lots of people had already been through this particular bin, because I think that's something a lot of people worry about, and I even worry about it myself sometimes, is that, you know, if you don't go through a bin almost right away, you're not going to find much. Except that's not always the case. There's been plenty of times I've gone through bins that have already been picked over, and I've still found really good stuff that for some reason no one else picked up. And this was one of those things. So unfortunately, I had no way to test this. I don't have like the Guitar Hero game or anything like that, so I didn't have any good way to test this. So I did sell it as untested, and it still sold for $31.47. So, you know, don't worry always about having to test items. If you buy these type of things and you can't test them because you don't have the system, you don't have the game, you don't have whatever, it's not really that big of a deal. Just make sure that you put in the listing that you were unable to test it. Sometimes it helps to just make sure that you list it only as like parts only, because then it's letting the person know even more that you're not sure that it works. I didn't list this one as parts only. I did just list it as untested, and basically sold as is how I worded it in my listing. Hopefully it works, because technically if they wanted, they could still, you know, open a return and return it if it doesn't, even though I worded it that way. But hopefully it will work for them, or they did just want it for parts. Whatever the case, you know, I'm glad that it sold, and I hope that they're happy with it. Alright, next we have this bobblehead. This was Dave Casper from the Oakland Raiders. So this was like a Hall of Fame bobblehead. I found this at a garage sale for $4 this summer, just a few weeks ago, I'm pretty sure. And this ended up selling for $32. Bobbleheads do really well. I think I've talked to you guys about bobbleheads before. A lot of people collect them, and they're a good collectible item that lots of people look for, and they're hard to find. So yeah, a lot of times they'll be worth a pretty decent amount of money. Not always. Some of them aren't worth as much as others, but I was very glad with this sale, this $32. That was a pretty good sale on a bobblehead. All right, now our last three items that we're gonna go over that sold on eBay are all the same type of item, and this was super exciting. So I sold 3 different digital cameras just within that 1 week, which was awesome. And I want to talk to you guys about this. Absolutely always be on the lookout for digital cameras. Some actual film cameras also do very well, and I've talked about that before in the past in my channel, and lots of other people have talked about that as well. If you watch any other YouTubers, I'm sure you've probably heard about this. These 3 were all digital cameras, and all 3 of them I found at garage sales this year. So the first one was a Canon PowerShot camera. This one I bought for $4 at a garage sale, and it sold for $59.97. So again, huge, amazing profit on what I originally paid for it. Only paid $4 for it at the garage sale and sold for almost $60. This is why I say always be on the lookout for digital cameras, especially brands like this. Canon does very well. The other 2 that sold were both Nikon, and that also typically does very well. Some Sony also does well. So these are some of the brands to be on the lookout for when it comes to digital cameras. As always, make sure if you find one to look up that specific model, see how it's selling, because, you know, it's not all equal. You know, not everyone is going to be great and wonderful. I always look them up. I don't know that I have ever bought a camera blind. I honestly always look them up to see what they're selling for, just for my own peace of mind, to know that if I'm, you know, putting the money into it, that it's going to be worth it. Here's the other thing. A lot of times you might be taking a chance with these again, because you don't know for sure that they work. You kind of have to take the people's word for it that's selling it, or, you know, if you're buying it at a thrift store, obviously, you know, you don't really have a way to know unless the batteries happen to work and you can turn it on and test it. I mean, that's great. I find that 99% of the time the batteries are dead, or if it takes actual, like, batteries, it's not a lithium battery, then, you know, obviously it doesn't probably have like AA's or whatever in it. You have to take it home, put those in yourself, and test it. But most of the time, I don't have a problem with cameras. I don't have an issue with them working. They usually always end up working for me, so that's wonderful. Now, a couple times I have found where the battery has been completely dead and I've had to sell it, letting the person know that it's going to need a new battery. And they sell anyway. I mean, people are willing to still buy them and then buy a new battery. So here's the other two. The next one was a Nikon Coolpix S570. This one I got for $5 at a garage sale. And that was actually, these last two also, I got at the same garage sale. And it was only like not like a week before they sold that I had found them at the garage sale. So this one I bought for $5 at the garage sale, and it sold for $55. And finally, this other one that I bought at that same garage sale for $5 as well was this Nikon Coolpix S4000. This one also came with a whole bunch of stuff. Like, it came with its manual, it came with its power charging cord, it came with the CD-ROMs for it, and like a basic case. So it came with a whole bunch of things, so that way I was able to bundle it together and sell it for a little bit more, since it had all the stuff, you know, with it. So this one ended up selling for $78. Again, these last two that I just talked about sold within like a week after I bought them. Probably less than a week of listing them. So that's amazing. That's wonderful. So yeah, guys, definitely always be on the lookout for digital cameras. And like I said, there's a lot of film cameras that still do well also. So look for those items. Look them up on eBay, see how they're selling, and yeah, you would be surprised at the profits that you can get off of cameras, and how quickly sometimes they sell. So I guess that's it for today, you guys. Those are the sales we're going to go over for July 8th through the 14th. Hopefully that gave you guys some ideas, things to be on the lookout for, let you know what kind of things are selling for us right now. So yeah, hopefully that information was helpful. If you liked this video, make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Helps out the video, helps people see this video, helps my channel. If you like my channel and my kind of content, please subscribe. That way you're notified when I post new videos. Also, if you have any questions, comments, anything like that, leave them below. If you have any ideas for what kind of videos you might like to see me do that might be different than this, or if you just like these kind and want me to keep doing these kind, you can let me know that in the comments below as well. Otherwise, I'm going to take off for today so I can get some work done. So until next time, keep on hunting for that hidden treasure.